Hi guys, it's finally 2024, a very interesting season is upon us and also the World Championships. Today I'm going to show you how I used the data I gathered from last week when I was out shooting to 1065 meters. As I've been saying earlier, and for those who know me, knows that I like to do is as simple as possible but with the best results. I don't like to overwork things. Some call it lazy, I call it smart. We use a 40 by 30 target on 700 and 60 by 60 at 1000 and 80 by 80 at 1200. So it's not that big, it's around an average of 0.6 mil target. I shoot my 143s in around 800, that means I go subsonic around 1080 and transonic zone would be around 1040, something around there. I use the Labrator to track every single bullet speed, and we use both spotting scopes with mil reticles and video camera on the first target to track our impacts. The wind was not as bad as the weather forecast said it would be, and I think we had an average of 3 meters per second from around 7 or 8 o'clock. And I just want to make it clear before I go too deep into this that I'm a Norma ambassador, and as an ambassador for them I think it's important to be as honest as possible about the products. Norma says that the bullet I'm using right now has a G7 BC of 0.321, and when I ask around people that have been using it for longer than I have, they all say true BC is around 310 to 315. If you're shooting out to like 600 meters, the difference between the highest and lowest BC number is 1 click, so in other words 6 centimeters, so that's not much to bother about. However, when you go up to around 1200 meters, the difference between the highest and the lowest number is around 0.6 mil, which is almost 75 centimeters, and that will most probably make you miss the target. Sure, it's not a lot of competition with targets about 1000 meters, but when there is, I want to make sure that I have the best data as possible to be able to hit those targets. What I did is not that complicated, but it requires that you have the opportunity to be able to shoot as long as possible. You have to make sure you have a newly zero rifle, so you know an offset is not the problem to this equation. I try to make sure I have around 3 good impacts on each target so I can have reliable data, and also I write down if I need to correct elevation, and I also track the speed with the Labrator so we have as much data as possible when we make our decisions later on how to correct the kestrels. Since we know the speed of the bullet and the wind is aligned with what we thought it would be, the only thing left to correct at this distance is the BC. So when we have good impacts that we can measure on, it's just to start lower or increasing the BC until we get the kestrel to show the same number as we use in reality. In this case, for me, I had to lower the G7 BC to 0.310 to get it right after looking at both impacts on the target and speed on the Labrator as well. I didn't have the opportunity to test it on 1200 meters a second time because of the hunter that came into our risk zone and we had to stop shooting for the day. But when I look at all the data and also the impact on 1000 meters, it aligns with that number. Hopefully we can redo this test in a couple of months before the season starts. And if you want to go full send on this, you can enter multi-BC and adjust the values as the bullet goes through the Mach 1, 2 and 3 speeds, but normally I only use the G7 values and it's been working out good for me. If you don't have the possibility to shoot out further than say 600 meters, you can do a light version of this just to verify that the BC data that the manufacturer states is correct or needs adjustments. You will see that quite easy, and I recommend you to shoot on paper. The paper doesn't lie. And since this is something that you probably won't be able to do as much as you could hope for, I recommend When you find a good bullet, buy a large batch of that one so you don't have to redo this a lot of times. I do this every new batch I get, or once a year before the season starts, to have a correct data. Now I have the data for the bullet, I have a complete batch for the season, and the only thing left now is to optimize my load so I'm 100% satisfied with it, just like my 6BR load. So until next time, Happy New Year!